The war now invades our minds through the screens. It shows up at our breakfast, cuts through our lunch, and steals our peace before bedtime. Anxiety, a diffuse fear, the feeling that somehow the world is on the brink of collapse, and sooner or later it may reach us too. And then the question arises like an uncomfortable whisper, a question you may have been avoiding, but today can no longer ignore. The world is at war, but inside you, is there peace? That is the central question of this video, because it's useless to chase news, make predictions, or create scenarios in your mind if your own mind has already become a battlefield. So, before we continue, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and write in the comments, not just as an automatic gesture, but as a real commitment to yourself, to your emotional health, to your clarity. Write, "I choose peace, even in times of war." Let each word be an invisible shield, an intimate pact, a reminder that even if the outside world screams, inside, you can still choose silence. Let's move forward together. You asked to expand with more references to Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine, and Gaza. Have you ever wondered how it's possible to keep your sanity when the world seems to be collapsing in real time? Right before your eyes, every single day, without pause, the headlines repeat the same words: war, conflict, destruction. What once felt like distant news, something happening in lands you could barely locate on a map, now has names, faces, stories. You unlock your phone, and there it is, images from Kiev in Ukraine, where since 2022, families live in underground shelters, where children have learned to tell the difference between the sound of a missile and the sound of thunder, where each sunrise is a personal victory simply for still being alive. You switch the channel, and there you see Gaza, a narrow strip of land where over 2 million people live as if tomorrow were just a fragile hypothesis. Bombing, overcrowded hospitals, parents burying their children, and the question changes in tone. It's no longer about if it will happen again. It's only a matter of when. You try to breathe deeply. But then another headline arrives. Israel and Palestine, immersed in a cycle of violence that feels eternal. Retaliations, attacks, tears on both sides. Lives interrupted by a history of pain, crossing generations. And as if that wasn't enough, the winds of war blow even stronger. Israel and Iran now engaging in direct attacks. The Middle East on the brink of a new regional collapse. Meanwhile, Russia and Ukraine remain locked in a war that reshaped the balance of global powers, where every drone strike, every trench battle is not just a military statistic, but a story of real people losing homes, families, futures. And while the names of the places change, one thing remains the same: the human cost, the emotional exhaustion, the creeping feeling that the entire world is bleeding. But today, we are not here to count casualties, nor to choose sides. We are here for something else, for a deeper question, because while the world outside collapses, there is still one battlefield that truly matters: your mind. And the choice, even now, is still yours. Will you let fear, hatred, and anxiety take over, or will you choose to be the calm in the eye of the storm? Analysts talking about possible nuclear escalations, governments sending troops, and the world holding its breath like someone waiting for thunder after seeing the flash of lightning. While all of this happens, you, sitting in your living room, drinking coffee, scrolling through your phone screen, trying to understand, trying to absorb, trying, perhaps, to protect yourself. But how do you protect your mind when the world seems determined to go insane? How do you maintain balance when each new news update is more devastating than the last? How do you look ahead, make plans, live with lightness, when the constant feeling is that we are on the edge of a global catastrophe? Even if you are physically far from these war zones, the truth is, emotionally, all of us are connected to this collective suffering, because the bombs may be falling thousands of kilometers away, but the anxiety, the fear, the feeling of helplessness, these are falling right here, right now, inside us. And that's why, today, more than ever, I ask you a question that's not simple, but that needs to be asked. The world is at war, but inside you, is there peace? This is the central question of this video. And before we continue, before we dive into the answers Stoicism has to offer you, I want to ask you something simple but powerful right now in the comments. I choose peace, even in times of war. war. Don't just write it. Feel each word. Make this phrase a commitment, an invisible shield, a pact with yourself that no matter what happens out there, you will fight every single day to keep your inner world intact. Because if there's one battlefield you can truly win, it's the battlefield of your own mind. Let's go together. 1. The outer war and the inner war. Imagine for a moment Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, surrounded by his general, battle maps spread open before him, messages arriving constantly, bringing news of losses, betrayal, threats. It was the year 170 AD. The Roman Empire was facing one of the greatest military crises in its history. The barbarian tribes were advancing across the borders, resources were scarce, and soldiers' morale was getting lower by the day. In the midst of all this, while most leaders of the time drowned in fear, in thirst for power, in despair, Marcus Aurelius did something that few would have the clarity to do. He wrote, not fiery speeches, not attack orders, but intimate reflections, notes to himself, pages we know today as the Meditations. There, in the cold of campaign tents, to the sound of horses, the smell of blood and mud, he wrote about virtue, about self-control, about acceptance, and most importantly, about inner peace, because Marcus Aurelius understood a brutal and at the same time liberating truth. The world may be at war, but inside you, the one who decides if there will be war is you. He couldn't stop the invasions. He couldn't control the fury of the enemies. He couldn't predict the next losses. But one thing he refused to lose: control over his own mind. And here begins the reflection I want you to bring into your life. Today, right now, you, just like Marcus Aurelius, cannot control the bombs falling in Gaza, the sirens blaring in Kiev, the offensives multiplying between Israel and Iran, nor the peace treaties that never come. You cannot stop political leaders from making decisions based on pride, greed, or fear. But there is something that remains exclusively in your hands. Your emotional response to all of this. What you do with the fear you feel. What you do with the anger that grows. What you do with the anxiety that paralyzes you in the middle of the night. The first war, before any external conflict, is silent and happens inside your head every day. It's the war against despair, against blind rage that makes you want to lash out at others for what you feel, against fear that makes you want to run, hide, or simply give up. Epictetus, another master of Stoicism, said a sentence that, if you truly understand it, can save you mentally right now. It's not events that disturb us, but the way we interpret them. Record this. Repeat it out loud if you need to. Write it down. Stick it on your bedroom wall, because as long as you keep believing that your peace depends on world peace, you will live in eternal agony. Stoicism was never a philosophy created for easy time. It was born amid persecutions, wars, slavery, hunger, and injustice. It was born for moments exactly like this. Moments when the world goes mad and where the only place where it's still possible to breathe is inside you. That is the battle you need to win, not to become indifferent to the suffering of others, but to avoid becoming just another emotional victim of something you simply cannot control. Your mind, your refuge, your choice, your weapon, your serenity, your silent victory amid the noise of the world. And now, I ask you, while bombs fall outside, while leaders exchange threats, while families mourn their losses, what inside you will remain standing? The answer only you can give. 2. The illusion of control. There is an illusion, subtle but extremely dangerous, that follows us from the moment we start understanding the world. The illusion that we can control everything. Since we were kids, we learned that if we plan enough, if we try hard enough, if we're careful, smart, strategic, the world will obey. That if we build the right alliances, make the right investments, take the right decisions, nothing, absolutely nothing bad will happen. But then life comes with the force of a hurricane and shows us in the harshest way that this was never true. You can plan your next vacation, and suddenly a war breaks out on the other side of the world, closing airports, shifting borders, canceling dreams. You can save money for years, and a global economic crisis, triggered by political instability between Russia and Ukraine, can turn your financial security into uncertainty. You can spend your whole life avoiding conflicts and still unlock your phone and see bombs falling over Gaza, crossfire attacks between Israel and Iran, missiles tearing across the skies of of Tel Aviv or Tehran, explosions in Kharkiv, civilians burying loved ones amid sirens that never stop. You don't control any of this. And as painful as it is to admit, that is the truth. You don't control governments, you don't control the military, you don't control international sanctions, nor the fiery speeches that come before each new offensive. You cannot stop leaders from making decisions that throw entire nations into the abyss of violence. But there is one territory, one single territory, that remains exclusively under your responsibility, your mind, your response, your internal state. Seneca, who lived in a Rome full of conspiracies, betrayals, and death threats, wrote a sentence that should be engraved on every wall of every home right now. In this moment of global instability, no wind is favorable for those who don't know where they're going. And today, the winds are stronger than ever. The world is blowing in all directions. Fake news, economic collapses, nuclear threats, a daily avalanche of information, of fears, of uncertainties. But even in the middle of this storm, you can still adjust your sails. You can decide where to direct your energy. You can choose whether you will sink into despair or whether you will navigate with awareness, with focus, with courage. This is Stoicism. It's not about closing your eyes to the suffering of others, but about opening your eyes to the only real responsibility you carry: your attitude, your interpretation, your serenity. Sailing in calm seas anyone can do, but in rough seas only those who have cultivated inner calm. And if there's ever a moment to develop this skill, that moment is now, because the world may keep spinning in chaos, but you can still choose not to spin along with it. 3. The emotional impact of invisible wars. You may not hear the sound of bombs, you may not see tanks rolling down your street, nor feel the ground shaking with explosions, but even so, you feel it. You feel it when you unlock your phone in the morning, and the first notification is about yet another attack, another destroyed city, more lives cut short. Even before breakfast, you feel it when you see images of Palestinian mothers carrying their children in their arms among the rubble of Gaza. You feel it when you hear about civilians in Kyiv trying to find shelter while the sound of sirens cuts through the air. You feel it when you read that Israel and Iran are exchanging missiles and that the whole world is holding its breath, fearing the worst. Even far from the battlefields, even with your routine seemingly intact, even with traffic, work, bills to pay, deep inside, way down, there's an invisible tension, a silent anguish, a diffuse fear that settles in the body, that tightens the chest, that makes your nights restless and your mornings increasingly tired. You feel the anxiety when you open the news and see that the violence keeps escalating. You feel the restlessness when you think about the future and you wonder. You feel the restlessness when you think about the future and you wonder, will it ever stop? Will there be a point where things will calm down? Will the world ever return to normal? And perhaps, without realizing it, you start to live on emotional alert mode, your body flooded with cortisol, your heart beating faster at any new headline, your mind trapped in a loop of fear, concern, and helplessness. This is the emotional impact of invisible wars, wars that don't explode in the streets, but inside us. And here, once again, we come back to the core of the Stoic philosophy. Focus on what you can control. You can't control the decisions of presidents. You can't control the next military operation. You can't control missile launches or diplomatic breakdowns. But you can control your breathing, your thoughts, your focus, your emotional response. You can decide to limit your exposure to destructive news cycles. You can decide to cultivate moments of silence, of reflection, to protect your mental health, just as you protect your body from physical dangers. And here, a new commitment begins, starting today. You will treat your emotional well-being with the same seriousness that you would have if you were in an actual battlefield, where your survival depends on your mental clarity, because in a way, that's exactly what's happening. We are in an emotional battlefield, and surviving requires strategy, requires discipline, requires self-awareness. This is your mission now. How long can the world hold on before it collapses for good? And even when you try to distract yourself, deep down, you know there is a war happening. Even if it's not with weapon or bombs, this is the invisible war, the psychological war, and it is real. It infiltrates through news notifications, through bar conversations, through alarmist social media posts, through catastrophic predictions that spread like a virus. It's a war of information, of images, of collective fears. And in this war, the battlefield is your mind. But it's here, exactly here, that Stoicism becomes your shield. Because Stoicism is not a philosophy for easy times. It was forged precisely for moments like this, when chaos screams. Stoicism whispers, your feelings are not mandatory. They are trainable responses. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to ignore the pain of others. You don't need to pretend everything is fine. But you can become steady. Steady when choosing what you allow into your mind. Steady when deciding how to react to fear. Steady when realizing that feeling fear is human, but being ruled by it is a choice. Your anxiety, your anguish, your fear, they may show up, but they don't need to take control. You can breathe, observe, and choose a more conscious response. You can be an observer of your thoughts and not a prisoner of them. And now, before we continue, if up until this point you feel that this video is bringing you some relief, some clarity, then I ask you with complete honesty, pause for a second and click like. This isn't just a button, it's a signal that this message needs to reach more people. People like you, who, right now, might also be fighting their own invisible wars. And if you're not subscribed yet, now is the time. This channel is your shelter against the chaos outside and the chaos inside. Let's continue. Brise de Sistevi 4, the example of Marcus Aurelius leading with calm amid chaos. Now, close your eyes for a moment and picture the scene. A tent in the middle of a military camp. The cold wind of Germania cutting through the canvas openings, the smell of iron, blood, sweat filling the air. Outside, thousands of soldiers waiting for orders. Decisions must be made urgently because every minute lost costs lives, provinces rebelling, messages of betrayal arriving from Rome, the very real possibility of seeing the greatest empire in the world collapse under his command. And in the midst of all this, there, at the eye of the storm, a man sitting with a candle lit, writing about serenity, about virtue, about self-control, about accepting whatever life delivers without resisting in despair. That man was Marcus Aurelius, an emperor, a commander, but above all, a faithful disciple of Stoicism. While others shouted orders, while some generals drank themselves numb to forget the pain, while soldiers wrote farewell letters to their families, Marcus sought inner silence. He understood, in a way almost painfully clear, that to lead is not just to move armies. It is, above all, to lead one's own mind. How many times must he have felt fear? How many nights did he stay awake, wondering if he was making the right decision? How many times was he tempted to give in to anger, impulsiveness, despair? But he didn't give in, not because he was insensitive, but because he was fully aware of a brutal truth that many of us forget. If I lose control, I drag everyone down with me. That is the responsibility of those who lead. And before you think, oh, but I'm not the leader of an army, stop and think again. You lead your own life. You lead your emotions. You lead the environment around you. Maybe you don't have troops, but you have a family, you have co-workers, you have friends, you have people watching you, you have friends, you have people watching you, observing how you react, observing how you face difficulties, observing how you manage your own inner storms. Maybe your battlefield isn't a distant front line, but your own living room, your own office, your own mind, and that doesn't make your war any less real, because the truth is, we are all leaders of something, leaders of our children's emotional environment, leaders of the energy we bring to our relationships, leaders of the atmosphere we create wherever we go. And in times of global crisis, where uncertainty dominates, where fear spreads like wildfire, your calm can be a safe harbor, not only for yourself, but for those around you. That's why this reflection today is not just philosophy, it's not just history, it's a tool, a shield, a strategy for survival. Marcus Aurelius didn't choose to face a war. The war came came to him, just like today. We didn't choose to live in a time of pandemics, conflicts, and global tension, but it's the time we have, it's the world we have, it's the reality we face. And just like him, we can write our own response to chaos, not with ink on parchment, but with daily action, with emotional discipline, with conscious choices, with a courage that doesn't scream, but whispers, I will remain standing, I will remain lucid, I will remain at peace, even when the world is not. And if you're with me on this journey, if this message makes sense to you, if even for a moment it brought you clarity, then leave your comment below. I choose peace, even in times of war. Let's make this phrase echo among all those who, right now, are also fighting their own invisible battles. We'll continue together. They are influenced by your emotional state, even if you don't realize it. The question is, when chaos knocks at your door, are you a source of calm or just more despair? When the news of war, crisis, and collapse reaches you, do you react like a lost soldier or like a conscious commander? Marcus Aurelius had every reason to drown in pain. He lost children, faced internal betrayals, saw the empire threatened, carried the weight of thousands of lives in his decisions, but instead of becoming bitter, he chose to become deep. He wrote, "What's outside may strike my body, but it only enters my mind if I allow it." And now, I ask you, truly, looking into your eyes, even if virtually, have you been doing the same? Have you paused before reacting? Have you breathed before taking your anger out on someone who doesn't deserve it? Have you observed your own thoughts before letting them take over everything? Or have you been dragged like a leaf in the wind, reacting to every piece of news, every provocation, every new fear the world manufactures? Because the truth is, today, the battlefield isn't physical, it's emotional. And on this battlefield, what defines victory is not brute force, it's inner discipline. Marcus Aurelius, even surrounded by pain, by death, by losses, chose to write about virtue, about resilience, about acceptance. He didn't run from pain, but he also didn't drown in it. And you? What have you done with your pain? Have you transformed it into reflection, into maturity, into awareness? Or have you allowed it to consume you, little by little, every day? The choice has always been yours, just as it was his. The world may remain at war, but your mind can still be a territory of peace. And as Marcus Aurelius used to say, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. What kind of thoughts have you been feeding lately? 5. Filtering what enters your mind today more than ever. The true battlefield is not in the streets, nor on the borders, nor in disputed territories. The battlefield is your attention. Yes, that's where the war happens now. Silent, relentless, invisible, and perhaps more dangerous than any explosion. All it takes is for you to open your phone in the morning, and it begins. The bombardment, breaking news notifications, videos of destruction in Gaza, images of refugees in Ukraine, reports of airstrikes between Israel and Iran, civilians buried under rubble, crying children, apocalyptic analyses about a possible nuclear conflict, and, in the midst of all that, a flood of opinions, arguments, comments loaded with hatred, fear, panic. It's as if, with each swipe of your finger, a new emotional grenade explodes inside your mind. And you know what's even scarier? You allow it. You expose yourself every day, voluntarily. You open the door and let chaos enter straight into your head. But here, Stoicism raises a warning that few have the courage to hear. If something is not under your control, don't make it your problem. That sentence, from Epictetus, seems simple, but it hides a wisdom powerful enough to save your sanity. Because let's be honest, do you control the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Can you stop the next bombing in Gaza? Can you stop the missile exchanges between Israel and Iran? Do you have any real influence over the geopolitical decisions that are pushing the world to the brink right now? Be honest. No. What you do control is how much you allow these images, these sounds, this information to settle and dominate your mental space. This is not ignorance. This is emotional self-defense. It's not about closing your eyes to the world's pain. It's about recognizing that you can only help when you are whole. Have you noticed how, after consuming hours and hours of news, you no longer feel empathy? You just feel exhaustion, irritation, irritation, discouragement. That's not a coincidence. It's the result of an overloaded nervous system, of a mind that never gets rest, of a heart trying to carry the pain of the whole world without having the structure for it. Stoicism invites you to an act of courage, to filter, to choose when, how, and how much you will expose yourself. Maybe you need a specific time of day to check the news. Maybe you need to limit your time on social media. Maybe you need to choose more balanced, less sensationalist sources. Maybe you need moments in your day completely free of external information because your mental energy is not infinite. Every piece of news you consume, every image of tragedy, every toxic debate consumes a piece of your clarity, your serenity, your ability to act with lucidity. And if you truly want to make a difference in the world, whether through concrete actions or simply by being a better person for those around you, you need to be whole. You need to protect your spirit, to preserve your hope, to safeguard your sanity as if it were the most sacred territory you possess. Because it's the only territory that no one can invade unless you allow it. So, the next time you're about to open the news app or dive for hours into meaningless social media arguments, stop, breathe, and ask yourself, will this strengthen me or will it destroy me? And if the answer is destruction, you already know what to do. The choice has always been yours. D6. Empathy without drowning. Yes, there is suffering out there. Yes, there are people crying, losing everything, burying loved ones, fleeing with whatever they can carry in their arms. Yes, the images coming from Gaza, from Ukraine, from Sudan, from Myanmar, from the Middle East in flames, they are real. Every face covered in dust, every gaze lost in the void, every tear falling in front of an international news camera is not staged. It's pain, real pain, and you feel it. You are not made of stone, you are not indifferent, but there is a line, subtle, that separates true empathy from emotional drowning. And here is where most people stumble, because without realizing it, you start to carry guilt that doesn't belong to you. You start absorbing pains that, no matter how legitimate, don't fit inside your body. You spend hours consuming images of suffering, replaying tragedies in your mind, torturing yourself with the thought, how can I be here, living my life normally while all this is happening? But do you know the hard truth that Stoicism forces you to face? You help no one when you're drowning. If you surrender to collective despair, if you let anguish paralyze you, if you turn your own mind into a field of tears, you know what happens. You become just another victim, another element in the cycle of suffering, another incapacitated person, helpless, overwhelmed by panic, unable to act with clarity. And let's be honest, the world already has enough suffering. It doesn't need another collapsed mind. The world needs lucid people, people who feel but don't break, people who cry but then wipe their tears and act. That is lucid empathy. It's feeling the pain without being dominated by it. It's looking at the images of war and instead of getting lost in despair, asking, what can I, within my possibilities, do? Maybe it's a donation, maybe it's a sincere prayer, maybe it's simply maintaining your own sanity so you can be emotional support for those around you. Because believe me, in a world flooded with bad news, a calm mind, a lucid heart, and a balanced person are more valuable than gold. So don't let yourself collapse. Feel, but don't drown. Care, but don't destroy yourself. Help, but first help yourself. Because if there's one truth that